Today on Locked On Rockies. Well, it wasn't a sweep, but you'll take a series win against the San Francisco Giants if you're the Colorado Rockies any day of the week.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 22nd day of July in the year 2024. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can help the show grow by liking the videos, subscribing, telling your buddies all about the show, and leaving those 5-star reviews on your favorite streaming services. I'm Paul Holden, your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast. Been bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk for over 3 years now here on the Locked On Rockies podcast, and really do appreciate y'all making us your first listen of the day. Today on the pod, we're going to talk about the series with the San Francisco Giants. We're also going to talk about the Rockies' record against the San Francisco Giants. Another reminder about just how tough it has been against the division for the Rockies. And of course, we cannot not talk about Todd Helton. Just a disclaimer there on the Todd Helton talk. Probably will just be a little bit of just wrapping up our thoughts on it. If you want to hear a little bit more in depth, if you want to hear me go a little bit more in depth of my thoughts on Todd Helton and his legacy and things like that, highly suggest you go check out the latest Every Rocky Ever episode, in which I join the boys there, Skylar, Evan, and company, and we talk Rockies, and we talk Todd Helton. So if you want to go check it out there, that is available. And of course, we recap the draft on Friday. So if you missed that, really great episode there from with Aaron from Blake Street Banner. But that kicked off basically a good weekend of baseball for the Rockies, even if you take the finale into effect. The Rockies end up, before losing the game on Sunday, end up getting a 3-game winning streak going on there, starting back with the finale against the Mets, in 2 games in which they handle the Giants. And what I liked about the most in this series, and this includes the finale, even with the strikeouts, because the biggest bummer about the finale is the fact that Hayden Birdsong got 12 strikeouts. That's, again, and this is a guy that has been striking out people. He's a young guy that has been striking out people. But here's just something: when I watch Birdsong come in, right, and when I've watched other players come into Coors Field and come in there, I really don't think Coors Field is that intimidating as much anymore for players. And I think that part of that has to do with the team that's involved. I do think that plays a factor. But if you're a guy that's confident in their stuff, that trusts their stuff, and knows that you're able to miss bats, Coors Field isn't this big enemy for you. I think now, in the modern age of pitchers being so effective and being able to be so dominant in stretches, what's the best way to negate any of the offensive impacts or silliness or wackiness of Coors Field? We'll just strike people out. And again, that's why I think it's so important if we see German Marquez return to form. Why it's so important that I think with the Rockies, when we're looking through why Chase Dollander is so exciting and enticing, it's because of the strikeout. The dominant strikeout pitcher is something that, one, the Rockies don't really have, and 2, it's something that really can work in this Coors Field environment. I mean, I know he's a young guy and he's going through it, but 12 strikeouts, 2 earned runs, only gave up 2 hits with 2 walks. I mean, that is a line where if a Rockies pitcher had that and you were able to get some sort of consistency, you're not going to get 12 strikeouts every time. But that Birdsong, it was like 5 strikeouts in his first start. Then it got up to like 7. Then it was 8. And then it was this. So, I mean, he's clearly, Birdsong knows how to get the strikeout. But my point is, when I watch this, it's when I get jealous of other teams and when I get frustrated with the Rockies, the strikeout, like we've talked about all year. But we see it, right? I mean, this is a guy making his debut at Coors Field. This is a guy, not his actual career debut, but his Coors Field debut. And there's no intimidation. I really don't think the teams are with the teams with confident arms aren't rolling into Coors Field being that worried. Of course, it's in the back of their mind. Of course, it's something they talk about. Of course, it's something they explore. But if you know as a pitcher that you're comfortable and confident going up there and getting strikeouts, getting people to swing and miss, getting and hitting your spots, that's a recipe for success as well. And it's just a reminder when we see performances like Birdsong's performance that it's like, wow, I wish the Rockies had something like that. I wish the Rockies had a dominant arm. But at the end of the day, that's only one game out of the three. The other two games, the Rockies handled the Giants pretty well. They get after it and go and do some damage here against the bullpen for the Giants there in game one, and bouncing back. Something that was really good to see too was the Rockies being basically stifled as always, down 3 runs, and at that point to the Giants, you're sitting there saying, down 3 to the Giants, this is looking pretty bleak for the Rockies. But, however, the team able to not only string together some hits and score, but a couple of timely walks as well. Not a ton of walks, but they get 7 actually in the game. They get Kyle Harrison to throw walk 4 in addition to walking the strikeouts. It makes that strikeout total of 6 just a little bit easier to swallow when you see the 4 walks. They draw 2 against Ryan Walker. They get a walk against Luke Jackson. So the Rockies taking some real great professional at-bats there to pour it on to take the second half of the game, including another big moment from Jake Cave, who comes and launches a home run and gets 3 RBI. Bretton Doyle, another, continued to stay hot. I believe he went hitless in the finale. But even on a shaky start from Cal Quantrill, even something that, it wasn't his best stuff, the Rockies were able to get the job done, including the bullpen, where Tyler Kinley, Jalen Beeks, and Victor Vodnik all combined for 5 strikeouts, and the only one giving up any sort of damage in that one was Kinley with 2 hits and a walk, but no earned runs there at all in that second game. That's a sweet win right there. It's come back late. It's hitting the long ball. It's doing damage. Ezekiel Tovar, of course, has the home run in that game as well. So and then in that second game, the Rockies were able to battle in the close games. They were able to battle in the trenches there. And an example there with the back and forth affair in the game on Saturday, the 4-3 game, and then with the game, the bullpen that has been challenged so much this year. Nick Mears and Victor Vodnik get the job done by not allowing a single hit in 3 innings and striking out 5. That's real good baseball there for the Rockies, on top of the fact that Kyle Freeland rolls again. I mean, this is something that it can't be overexplained as well. This is what we were hoping for with Kyle Freeland coming into the season. This is the expectations that we set for Kyle Freeland, who now in the last 7 starts for Kyle Freeland, he's got a 2.76 ERA over 42 innings. He's led up 13 earned runs, 10 walks to 30 strikeouts. His whip is down to 1.20. It's getting better. It's improvement, a lot of improvement from that stretch in July so far for Kyle Freeland. He has only allowed 5 earned runs. He struck out 18. He's only walked 3 batters so far in this month. That in April, if you're curious, in those 3 starts he had in April, he walked 7 batters there and 7 strikeouts in that time. So clearly Kyle Freeland in a much, much better spot. And these are good teams outside. You can zoom back there to the White Sox game there, and you could take them out of the equation if you wanted to, but in 4 out of the last 5 games that the Rockies have played or had Kyle Freeland start, they have been against teams that are in the hunt for the playoffs or above 500 or near that. So the Rockies, when they have turned to their hometown starter of late, he has been able to dominate. The whip of down to 1.17. Their opponent batting average is down from before as well. Kyle Freeland's rolling. It's exactly what we were talking about. How we wanted strikeouts, we wanted that, but at the same time, you get good Kyle Freeland. That helps you a ton as well. The strikeout has been part of the weaponry as well for Kyle in the last one. Again, not 12 strikeout numbers or anything like that, but 4 strikeouts against San Francisco. He had 9 against Cincinnati. He had 5 against the Royals. So, he's peppering some strikeouts. I'd still like to see that strikeout total stay around that 5-ish range. I'd like to see it up there a little bit more. But when Kyle Freeland is shoving, that helps for the Rockies as well. And it helps that the Rockies were using the long ball in this series and following it up with that Mets series. So clearly some of the adjustments when it comes to power seems to be working for now. Let's see how long the increased power lasts, and we'll see what happens as a good team, another team looking to get a series win and keep up their fight. The Boston Red Sox coming into town here for what should be a real fun series there. I believe the Red Sox, let's see how the Red Sox just did against the dreaded Dodgers. Red Sox, to start the second half of the season, just got swept by the Dodgers in 3 games. So they're certainly coming into Coors Field hungry and anxious to go, as well, as they are 53-45. So we'll see how the Rockies handle another above 500 team. All right, I want to keep the conversation going about there's a crazy stat about the Rockies' record against the Giants, and a good way to start changing the narrative at least a little bit for the Rockies. That record will come into play again here, as it's something we've talked about before with the Colorado Rockies, and we will talk about it again coming up here on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we get to that, though, got to let you know about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the PrizePicks community today. You can get 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000 if you take the more on Brenton Doyle hits, the more on Kyle Freeland strikeouts next time he pitches, the less on some sort of something maybe you're not confident on, maybe less on Cal Quantrill walks. I don't know. You can see all the options for yourself. Check it out. And PrizePicks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. We are also brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your #1 ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Folks, welcome back into the Locked On Rockies podcast. I am your host, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk. Thanking you for making us your first listen of the day. Hey, if you need a new alternative to your daily sports viewing, why not check out the Locked On Sports Today YouTube channel, 24/7 sports coverage, free and streaming on YouTube or on the Amazon Fire TV app. You can also check out our friends at SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app, as they got you covered with all your Rockies play-by-play action all season long. And after the games, if you're not subscribed to Locked On Denver Sports, you're missing out from our boy Anilo Piro doing the Locked On Rockies postcasts, breaking down the games after the games as they happen. So check that out. Available not only in the podcast feeds, but also on the Locked On Denver Sports YouTube channel. So more Rockies talk, more Rockies coverage there. So I wanted to start the show, or not start the show, start the second half of the show by bringing up something, a good barometer, something that just kind of adds to the emphasis of what we've talked about in terms of Rocky's schedule, in terms of Rocky's performance against the NL West, yada, yada, yada. So the broadcast yesterday, and I'm going to change the record now to reflect the series and yesterday's loss. On the broadcast, they said they were 43. The Rockies were, the Giants were 43-16 against the Rockies. So now 44-16 in the last 60 games for the Rockies. 44-16 against the Colorado Rockies in 60 games. I mean, domination doesn't even begin to explain it, right? I mean, that is pure, just absolute crushing domination from the San Francisco Giants. But the good news is, when you're looking at least at this season, and because of that series, you change at least a little bit of the narrative for this season, because you need to win this series and you need to go to San Francisco and prove something as well. It's not necessarily, do you need to win there? Yes, absolutely. I'd like for them to win. But it's more so of being competitive. It's more so of competing with the Giants here, who are, if the Rockies go down, or say the Rockies lose this series, which is a 3-game set coming up where after this homestand here, the Rockies this season, if they lose 2 out of 3 to the Giants, will be 8-4 against the Giants. So it continues to keep up this trend of basically the Giants able to double up the Rockies. And unfortunately, more often than not, for the Rockies against the Giants, especially this year, it hasn't been particularly close. So for the Rockies to play spoiler and to start the second half of the season off on the wrong foot for the Giants, which is not how they wanted to, by the way. They're 48-52. They are definitely the definition of one of those middling teams that need to be better. They were hoping to continue the legacy of dominating the Rockies. But listen to these scores here from the first few games from the Rockies from this season. Giants 5-0 beating the Rockies. 8-6. Rockies putting up some numbers there. The Rockies then pull off a win, getting nine runs there. But then in back-to-back games for against the Rockies here, the Giants outscore the Rockies by a score of 24-9. It goes on. You know, I mean, luckily the last few games the damage hasn't been so bad, but you can kind of see that the Rockies have some moments where it isn't all that competitive. But again, the big news here, the best news about this is you can start to change that record. You can start to change that narrative. If the Rockies win the series there, they still will be under 500 against the Giants in this year, in the regular season series this year. But instead of being down big, you're down by 1, right? If you get the sweep, you even tie the regular season record. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's a 4-game set. So if I was add 1 to basically everything I was saying. But the point is that you can't be this bad against your division rivals. And it shows just how good the rest of the division can be against the Rockies. So every time you get a chance to see a series win, and a win in which the Rockies were actually, playing decent ball. And while I was sitting there in the back of my head, worried most of the time about this one, it's good to see progress. What I'd like to see at this point, even amidst a lot of the struggles and such for a lot of these Rockies players, and for the situations that the Rockies have found themselves in, at least in this series against a team that they have historically struggled against, and even mixed with their issues like high strikeout numbers, that's a series win with progress, with hitting the long ball, with drawing some walks. You're starting to see a little bit of the pieces fall together a little bit more in terms of just consistency and a stronger foundation and just a better handling of being in the ball game. I'm not gonna lie. I was sitting there. I saw the Giants up 3-0 in the first game. I counted it out. I did. I counted the Rockies out in the first game against the Giants. I mean, listen, you hear that record. The 45. Well, let's one more time here, just so I don't butcher the number here. But 44-16 against the Rockies. in the last 60 games. And mind you, I mean, I think this record goes all the way back. This goes back to like 2018, something like that. The Rockies were going for their first home sweep of the Giants this series since 2018. So it just kind of goes to show you, as the Rockies have gone through this rebuild, gone through this tough the postseason era for the Rockies, it's another reminder of just how difficult it has been for the Rockies, especially against the NL West. So when you see the Rockies perform against the team, against the Giants especially, you really got to be pumped on it. And if they are able to go out into San Francisco and win the series or at least split it, you're feeling pretty darn good about that as well. Because if you at that point, if you look at the second half and you look at kind of the second half of the season series, the Rockies played better ball against them. And the Rockies even got after one of the Giants all-stars there in Webb as well. So great to see in some moments there. It's far from where we want to be, but it's always a good thing when you look to break down the series a little bit more. When you zoom out a little bit more and you figure out, whoa, it's been pretty difficult for the Rockies to play against the Giants in general for a bit. All right, let's wrap the show up with one of the better storylines, one of the best news, one of the big stories, one of the coolest things from the weekend. Todd Helton's Hall of Fame induction. Let's do that coming up in segment number 3 of today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel's got you covered throughout baseball season and all summer long with all sorts of promos and deals going on for you. Maybe you want to take the Rockies money line. Maybe you want to build a little parlay. Maybe you're feeling confident in the Rockies bats going here against the Red Sox. Well, you can see all the action and more for yourself on FanDuel.com. You can see all the action that are going on, and all you got to do is open up the app, and you can look and dive into all the available bets for you. Like I said, single game bets, props, parlays, all available for you. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. So why not get a little bit of get some action going for the Rockies taking on the Red Sox, or more Major League Baseball action and other action across the sporting world when you head to FanDuel.com. Make the most out of your summer with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. I am Paul Holden, your Rockies fan extraordinaire, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk. We're also want to let you know about the Locked On Sports Today, free and streaming YouTube channel available to you all there, as well as all your play-by-play action available to you on SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app. Folks, if you are a Rockies fan and you have not sat down and enjoyed Todd Helton's Hall of Fame speech, it is a must. It was a wonderful weekend for Todd Helton and the other inductees into the Hall of Fame. But boy, oh boy, what a moment. What an opportunity and what a weekend for Rockies fans to be able to bask in the glory of when you, again, if you look at the numbers, if you really look at things, if you actually go and look at the career of Todd Helton with an open mind, a critical mind, and such, you will realize that one of the greatest first basemen to ever play the game was a Colorado Rocky. And there's an argument to be made that Todd Helton would be on certain specific teams, that Todd Helton would be, I mean, there were so many stories popping up that, and I heard this one on the broadcast yesterday. When Tony Gwynn tells you that you're going to hit 400 and that you have something going on and you're special as a bat, as a hitter, you know you're a special athlete. You know you guys got something special. Mixed in with the fact that, I mean, he was just doing stuff that taking a 400 batting average into August. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And so, I mean, I know I've waxed poetically about Todd Helton before, but it is just one of those moments for Rockies fans to really sit there and understand and process just how good Todd Helton was. That one of the game's best hitters of all time. Yes, Todd Helton is one of the best hitters of all time. He did stuff with the bat that very few, if any, did. is recognized in the Hall amongst the best in the business. And now not only is it one, but two players are in the Hall of Fame wearing Colorado Rockies hats. That stuff matters, folks. That and this is a moment we have to savor for a long time because we don't know when this is going to happen again for Rockies fans. We truly don't. But after this weekend, after all of the pageantry and the Rockies were and Todd Helton were established were reestablished as legitimate. As this is, maybe, say whatever you want about the team, say whatever you want about the team's record when Todd Helton played. You can't argue with the stats. You can't argue with the plaque. And you can't argue with the fact that Todd Helton is the greatest Rocky in history. The numbers show it. Everyone says it. Everything backs it up. And it's really great to see that this Rockies great, that this Rockies legacy is going to live on in the most important baseball, the most important place where baseball is reflected on, where people go to relearn and reestablish and regrow their knowledge of the game and tell the story of baseball. Now officially at the Baseball Hall of Fame. And I know there's been, blips and bloops, but why is it so important that Larry Walker and Todd Helton are there? Because now as the story of baseball is told and is told throughout time, the Rockies, the right Rockies, are being recognized for their contributions to the game. Whether a team, a person never heard of the Rockies, never spoke to the Rockies, never watched them, doesn't matter now. When you go to the Hall, when you go to the Hall of Fame, there will be two Rockies players and two Rockies players that if you don't know about, when you learn about, you're going to be blown away at just how good they were, especially Todd Helton. Todd Helton, a player that was doing stuff at the beginning of his career, was so good offensively, you can't even fathom it, especially watching the Rockies. Go look. I'm telling you, folks, go look at his strikeout numbers. Todd Helton struck out more than 100 times in his career once. One time. The dude walked more than he struck out a few times. And again, there's a lot of context and stuff into that. But just look at the stuff that frustrates you about the modern day Colorado Rockies. And then you look at Todd Helton and you're like, golly, would he fix a lot of problems? Would he do damage? And I know the pitching's different, blah, 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 blah. The fact of the matter is, there's no way around it. Todd Helton's so good, man. It was just so great to watch. He got to lead off the whole thing. So many people, there was plenty of Rockies fans in attendance. You could tell how happy he was. What an awesome weekend for not only the Rockies, but everyone getting inducted there for everybody. It's really, really cool to see. So, like I said, if you want to hear me dive more into my thoughts about Todd Helton, every Rocky ever, we talked for about an hour and a half, diving into Todd Helton moments, what we loved about Todd Helton, what it means, all that good stuff there. But, folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for joining us and making us your first listen of the day. Make sure that you catch us on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. Be part of the show. Subscribe, like those videos. Let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies by firing off your comments in the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB. And if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Buffs have got you covered. Folks, until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.